Well, 2020 sucked, but if you're into riding your reasonably priced motorcycle to the trail, on the trail, then home, and you don't want to change oil every 1,000 kilometers, then 2021 looks a lot better already. It's shaping up to be the year of the 300, as both Honda and Kawasaki have punched their 250 dual sports up in cc. Also, Team Green extended that to a new supermoto, and Honda updated its Rally, making it the best off-road small adventure bike out there. So Kawasaki has been teasing November 23rd as the release of 6 new models, including what looked like replacements for the KLX300 and the defunct KLR650. Then last week they pulled the KLR out of the teaser video, not sure why. Maybe the pandemic delayed things, or Kawi wanted to make some final adjustments and will now release it in January with the next batch of new bikes the company intends to introduce. But before the new Kawasaki's came out, Honda took its opportunity to upstage them with their own big news. Along with a slew of other upgrades, the CRF300L and 250L Rally have finally received the 286cc motor that has powered the CBR300R since 2015. This motor is close enough to the 250 that it's pretty much a straight swap for the older engine. Every year rumors of the upgrade have swirled, and every year Honda has disappointed their off-road fans by dragging out the 250 for another go-around. But just before Kawasaki's big announcement, Honda released a heavily updated CRF300L and Rally version in Thailand, where they're built. Now, seeing as Japan got the same bike with a 250cc engine, the question has been asked, which version is the rest of the world getting? Let me set your mind at ease if you live in North America or Europe. You're getting the 300. Japan has some legal hurdles for bikes over 250cc to jump through, which make it more attractive to just ride a 250. If your country doesn't have those rules, it would be an act of monumental stupidity for Honda to bring out a 250 when Kawasaki just came out with a 300. Because that's exactly what Kawasaki just did. They've updated their KLX250 to 292cc and threw in a supermoto for good measure. So let's take a quick look at the two dual sports and see which one is likely to come out on top. Then take a look at the supermoto and Rally and assess their impact. Now, the CRF300L and the KLX300 are in direct competition with each other since they both occupy that inexpensive, low-maintenance Japanese dual sport niche, along with the Suzuki DRZ400 and the freshly cancelled Yamaha WR250R. So here's a point-by-point comparison. First, what's the same? Both bikes have liquid-cooled engines and 6-speed transmissions. Their weight is roughly the same, as Kawasaki lists a 302-pound wet weight, while Honda says 304. They have roughly the same fuel capacity, similar suspension travel and ground clearance, although the KLX probably has better suspension, more on that later, and comparable brakes. The differences start in the engines, and since that's the biggest change in both bikes, let's have a closer look. Honda has come out swinging with a claim of 31 horsepower at the crank from its 286cc motor. That seems ambitious, but remember that this is a figure at the crank. When measured on a dyno at the rear wheel, the bike will lose some ponies. Fortunately, this is the same engine as the CBR300R, and we have plenty of horsepower data on that motor, including a 2017 Motorcyclist magazine article, which I will link below, in which the CBR300R was dynoed along with the previous 250 and spun the drum up to the tune of 26.2 horsepower and 17.4 pound-feet of torque, versus the 250's 22.5 horsepower and 15.2 pound-feet. Since then, Honda has further tweaked the engine to squeeze out an extra horse. So we're around 27 horses on the dyno, which will probably translate to around 31 at the crank. I will also add that my wife rides a 2015 CB300F with the same motor, pre-tweaking. The thing weighs 348 pounds plus accessories, has a fair few miles on it, and is fairly zippy, especially when revved out, so Honda's claims seem legit. As for Kawasaki, they don't make any claims about performance numbers. Instead, they've released this cryptic dyno graph showing power improvements over the old 250 with no numbers for reference. Now, given the fact that the old Kawasaki was down on power to the old Honda, and given the fact that the graph shows the new bike making at most a 20% gain, it's logical to conclude that the new KLX will be a bit down on power to the new CRF. Since the CRF numbers were already public by the time the KLX was announced, one would think that if Kawi had a more powerful bike, they'd be shouting it from every rooftop. Expect the KLX to spin a dyno to about 23 or 24 horsepower. The Kawi might, however, carry more power lower in the rev range like the old 250 did. We'll see. The opposite is true of the suspension. Although both companies have published their numbers and those numbers are similar, the Kawasaki does have a fully adjustable rear shock that's preload, compression, and rebound damping, while Honda has played crickets on the topic and shown us some pretty light tie riders squishing the suspension in their Thailand release video. Expect the Kawi suspension to be better sorted for bigger riders like it was on the old models. Another issue for riders on these bikes is seat height. Kawasaki has published a 35.2-inch seat height on their Canadian website. This is slightly taller than last year's seat height of 34.4 inches. On their Thai bikes, Honda lists a low 32.7-inch seat height with a 35.2-inch seat height on the taller Rally model. Now, I have heard that bikes meant for the Thai market are lower than the ones sent to North America and Europe, so expect something closer to last year's 34.4 inches on Western Hondas. So what else is there to compare? Dash. Kawi goes digital, Honda goes bigger digital with fuel gauge and adds a gear indicator, both of which the Kawi lacks. Kawi stays with their green and camo color options, and all the Hondas I've seen have been very red, although black will probably be offered as well. Also, the Honda gets LEDs all around while the Kawi doesn't. So what about the looks? The CRF has been significantly updated with a new lighter frame and all new bodywork that make it look like the 450L Big Brother, which costs almost twice as much. It has definitely stepped up the game and continues the tradition of Honda styling its bikes like a boss. The Kawasaki barely looks any different from last year's model. It's more of an evolution than a new model. Advantage Honda. Finally, the price. Since the bike has not been released worldwide yet, international prices of the CRF are unknown, but a Honda rep told me to expect about $6,500 in Canada. And according to the Kawasaki Canada website, the KLX300 will run you $6,500 for the green and $6,700 for the camo, so prices should be very comparable. By the way, Kawasaki Canada still has the KLX250 listed at $6,000 and the KLX230 at $5,300. I get the 230 as it's significantly less expensive than the 300, but keeping the 250 at $500 savings doesn't make much sense, so don't expect it to be around in 2022. So which one to get? The Honda seems to offer more for the money. Kawasaki hasn't changed that much and got a bit left behind by the shiny new CRF. If the past is any indicator, the Kawi will probably have better suspension and the Honda will probably have more power. However, Team Red will also look better and offer more features and is now competitive on weight. I have a feeling a lot more Hondas will be riding the trails just like they did with the 250 models. In the end, these two bikes are welcome additions to the class, which now really only contains one other bike, the older than time Suzuki DRZ400, since Yamaha just discontinued the WR250R, a bike with the best suspension in this class. This was probably due to the fact that it couldn't meet Euro 5 emissions and remain competitive. So here's hoping that this state of affairs is temporary and a WR300R is on the way as well. But what neither Honda nor Yamaha have is a Supermoto. And that's the other version of the KLX that Kawasaki just released. I have to say, this bike looks awesome, especially in that blue with the blacked out wheels. I think it's going to give the DRZ400 Supermoto some headaches. Despite being down on displacement and power, it is lighter and way more modern with fuel injection and a 6th gear. Maybe this will light a fire under Suzuki's butt, seeing as this is the first real competition for the DRZ400 SM. And no, I'm not counting the Euro Supermotos, which are much more powerful and cost almost twice as much. One more thing. Of course, Honda put the new motor in the CRF Rally as well, since this bike was often criticized for being underpowered for its 346-pound weight. The new bike weighs around 331 pounds wet and got a big bump in power and torque. Add the new 12.8-liter tank and you have a true around-the-world motorcycle, more capable off-road than any other adventure bike in the 300 to 400cc range. It's still way down on power to the KTM 390 Adventure, but it's massively up in suspension travel, wheel size, ground clearance, and off-road ability. So we're particularly excited about the CRF300L because my wife Brooke is looking to trade in her CB300F for a dual sport, and guess which bike she's eyeing? A Honda girl all the way. She's seen all the off-road fun I've had on my T7 and wants to join in. So if this bike is coming to Canada, Honda has at least one guaranteed sale already. What has you excited in this batch of new bikes? Are you Team Red or Team Green? Or waiting for a WR300R? Or dare we dream a 350? Would that be the perfect bike for this class? Would you buy Kawi's new Supermoto over the Suzuki DRZ400? Or is it all about the cubes? Or is that Rally your dream bike? Drop your comments below and ride safe. If you're interested in any of the gear that Brooke and I wear or use, or the camera equipment we use to film this channel, the links are below. Everything listed there was bought with our own money and we are not sponsored by any company. However, the links below are affiliate links and the channel is paid a small amount for referring you to shop at no additional cost to you. We do not recommend any products that we are not satisfied with ourselves, but we do strongly urge you to do your research and select the correct size for items like helmets and clothing. As always, thanks for watching, your support is greatly appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. And whatever you ride, enjoy it. Wave at other bikers no matter what they're riding. We're all part of a brotherhood and sisterhood. Keep the rubber side down, shiny side up, and may the spokes be with you.